Hello, class. My name is John DeCossin, and my personal narrative speech today is regarding making time to contact the ones you care for. The time was May 1st, 2010. I was busy taking care of patients in a 200-bed ward facility, taking care of bandages, medications, coordinating with teammates and fellow colleagues. It was pretty chaotic. Call lights going off in the background, patients yelling, staff members asking when I can go ahead and help them. Very high stress environment. Amidst all that chaos, I was lucky enough to at least try and take a 15-minute break where I could collect my thoughts and prioritize the sequences that need to be done on a daily basis so I can make sure that I get through the shift safely and have no patients be hurt. So walking out of the break room, I get a call on my phone, and it was from one of my cousins I haven't spoke to in roughly 3-4 years. I answered the phone thinking, maybe it's just a hello or how are things going. But right when she called, I could feel it in her voice that something wasn't right. And she opened up the call saying, "I don't know if I could tell you this news over the phone. I think it's better if you just come here. Are you near a chair?" In my mind, I was boggled, and so I told her, I was like, "Tell me what's wrong. I can handle it. Doesn't matter what it is." With the brief, uncomfortable split second of silence, she then says, "Grandma's in the hospital, and it's not looking too good. Get here when you can." And she hung up immediately right after that. Right after the phone went off, all of what was present in my foreground of priorities muffled into the background, as it just didn't matter to me anymore at that point in time. I was able to be excused from work and do that 40-minute drive from Walnut Creek to Kaiser Vallejo, where I had to get to the ICU. After I parked my car, it literally felt like a 3-mile walk just to get from the parking lot into the ICU room. I was greeted at the front of the hospital by a security guard who then gave me a name badge on a sticker, and I proceeded off to where I was directed. All through all that whole time, my senses were on high alert. You could smell the bleach from the floors being mopped, to food being cooked over into the kitchen, and all other various noises you could think of. Feet tapping away in hallways as they walked by. And all I could think is, I gotta get to Grandma and see how she's doing. I reached the ICU floor and stepped out, immediately scouring the whole floor to see. I could see all kinds of different, patient glass pane rooms. Some were filled. Some had patients in it. Some had patients in it with family members in it. In other rooms, curtains were drawn. And it felt just like how it did at work, with random noises of ventilator machines and call lights going off, staff members talking at the nurse's station. I walked down the hallway and I kept thinking, which room is she in? Which room is she in? I was able to then spot her about a couple rooms down. There's no way I could forget that face, but I could tell it did not look good. I got to the room, briefly greeted all my family members, and went straight to her. Nana's face was swollen with her eyes shut, bruises everywhere. tubes, feeding tubes, IVs, intubating. I knew this was not a good look. I knew that these would be her final moments, but how and when? I grabbed her hand and I approached her slowly to whisper in her ear. I said, Nanai, sorry it took me so long, but I'm here. I hope you're doing okay. And I could see her wriggling in pain, wondering when her next time is for her pain medication. I could hear all the sniffles in the background. People with a low cry, low moan of pain. And the doctor came in. Tall guy in a lab coat and clipboard, tapping his pen on the clipboard, reading everything. As he gestured to my auntie, who was the spokesperson for the family for Grandma. I could tell Auntie turned around. She looked at me and she wanted me to go out there with her to listen to what the doctor had to say. I looked the doctor in the eyes and he looked at his report. And this is what he said. It's not looking too great for Remedios. She's got a lot of internalized bleeding that's putting a lot of pressure on her brain, making it hard for her to function normally. Even breathing alone, she hasn't taken any breaths by herself. The machine has been doing all the work. I'm sorry to say this, but surgery would not be an option as it's too high of a risk for her, which could then take her life. Please take these moments to decide on a decision and how we will proceed. We'll be here for you and we're ready when you are ready. And from then he turned around and walked away, not allowing us any type of questions or other options. I felt my auntie's energy. She turned towards me and said, hey, I gotta tell you something. And at this point in time, I'm like, what else is there to tell? This is the biggest priority to me is Grandma and making sure, we do everything right by her. And Auntie then says, your mom's not here. Everybody's tried to convince her to come here, but nobody can do it. Is there any way that you can? Keep in mind, I haven't spoke to my mom's side of the family or my mom for almost 8 years. So there's quite a bit of strain there. Even though I hesitated, I knew the call of duty evoked in me to speak on Grandma's behalf, because as a parent myself, I would want my kids there. I fumbled through my phone and with one press of a button, I was able to get her on the line. Not even a full ring later, she picked up the phone and she said, JB, I know why you're calling me, but I don't think I can handle seeing Nanai like that. I want to be able to remember her the way I last saw her with her last birthday. There was a moment where I could have just snapped and said all these mean things, but that wouldn't be right, as I know Nanai would have wanted it another way. And for some reason it just clicked, because I've ran through this situation so many times with other family members and patients and caregivers, and I said what needed to be said, and I told her this. They say when somebody's going to pass, that one of the last senses that still work before you pass is your hearing. Don't you think Nanai would want you here so that she can hear your voice and know that you're here? And in that moment in time, my mom split second changed her mind and said, I'm on the next flight there. In the meantime, I sat there with Nanai, held her hand, talking to other family members, catching up. They came up with the decision that we would stop, the assisted breathing machine and see what happens from there. But we would wait until my mom would come. 6 hours later, there she was, walking through the same door I just went through. I gave my mom the time she needed to talk to Grandma. And then we all made that decision to stop the machine. Some people left and went to the lobby. Others stayed. And I decided to stay. I wanted to honor her the way she honored me, knowing that she carried me and fed me and took care of me, and that I would do the same as well. In her last moments, I was there. Reflecting back on that day, back in 2010 May, makes me see that we're surrounded by all this technology and the ability to say hi to anybody we want, whenever we want. And this is why I say make time. With one press of a button, anybody you love and care for, you can speak to. I dedicate this speech to my grandma, as her birthday just recently passed. November 2nd. Thank you, class.